Hi, T2W here. I'm out of the shop today because I wanted to make a video in response to many viewer requests I've had about the Tusk Panniers systems. People want to know how has it performed over the past year, how have they held up, and am I still happy with them? It has been exactly 1 year ago today that I installed this pannier system on my bike. And I have ridden about 3,500 miles in that year. Not a big year of riding, but those miles include quite a few long trips loaded with gear on-road and off-road. So anyway, stick around and we'll get started right after this. Okay, so now I'm here in the garage and we're just going to take a close-up look at these panniers, how they've held up, and hopefully I'll address all the points that you're interested in. If not, leave a comment on this video and I'll be happy to respond and answer any questions you have. All right, so let's get in here and take a closer look. All right, so first of all, the boxes have absolutely no dents, no deformation whatsoever. I have laid the bike over on both sides, I think one time each. Every time on each of those times it was off-road, so it was in fairly soft conditions. It wasn't on pavement or gravel or anything like that. But as you can see, there's absolutely no damage to the box. I've got some light surface scratches. My reflective tape had chipped and peeled in a couple places because of going down, but the box itself sustained absolutely no damage. I've had no cracking of any of the welds, and in only a year, I wouldn't suspect that I would. The water tightness of the box has been perfect. I've had absolutely no issues with getting any moisture in. As you can hear, the latches are still very, very tight, and they make a great waterproof seal with the lid. One thing on the lid I would like to show you is this handle. As the handle vibrated going down the road, only after a couple of rides, you can see these marks, this discoloration where the inside of this rubber handle started to wear through the finish on the lid. So what I did was, and it may be hard to see, is I put some 3M film on here. On Amazon, I ordered a roll of 6-inch wide by 25-inch long 3M film, and I'll show you a link to that here. And I put that on, and what it is this is the protective film that goes under like a sports bra on a car to protect the paint finish so it doesn't chafe the paint. And so that has stopped it from getting any worse, and it has not even phased the 3M finish as far as wearing through that. So that's a helpful tip. Also, you'll notice I put tape here. I just use what's called compression tape. You can use electrical tape or anything, because otherwise the ends tend to want to curl up like that when they get wet, and then you go down the road and they dry and they want to curl up. So that's just a helpful tip. I really do love these handles. They've been very handy in being able to just lift the whole pannier off the bike and carry it to your campsite or your room or wherever you're staying. It's just really, really helpful. On the inside, but I did go in and replace these, initially the hardware for the footman loops. I did put stainless steel screws and nylon locking washers. Or nuts. I have not had any problems with the footman loops coming loose. They're super strong and they've held up well. All right, so I'm going to move in here a little closer. Let's latch the lid and pull the pannier off. They still fit pretty snugly, the brackets. I have been tempted to kind of pry these out just a little bit because they really fit very snug still on the frame, but I haven't because I'm afraid if I loosen them too much that they'll want to vibrate on the frame, and there's absolutely no vibration in these whatsoever right now. So let's just set the pannier down here. I want to show you that there's been just a little bit of wear here on the frame where the pannier has rubbed against it. Nothing major, it's just basically wearing the finish off the frame. Same thing on the top. Also, Since the back tire is right here, it tends to want to throw up a lot of grime and grit when you're off-road, and that gets under the pannier. So when you're putting it on, you really hear that grinding and the gritty sound. It's not a problem, it's just part of it. As far as the frame stiffness, this frame has been rock solid. I have not had to go back and tighten up anything from my initial installation, even after about 3,500 miles of riding in a year. The frame has just been incredibly strong and a stable platform to mount these panniers on. So even if you just buy the Tusk frame and put on your KLR, I highly recommend it. It's been just again, rock solid. Over here on the left-hand pannier, you can see I got some of the same light rubbing. Let's see if we can zoom in here. It's really not bad. You can see a little bit of the wear here. It's under the 3M film. Now, if I zoom in close here, it might be hard to see, but you can see where the film is. And again, I cut it from here. There's a line you can see a little bit here. It went just inside, 6 inches went right inside the footman loops, and I ran it from here all the way up to here to protect, so that handle can bounce around as much as it wants to, and it's not going to wear through that film or cause any more wear on the lid of my panniers. Now occasionally what I do is I'll slide the webbing to tighten it to where the handle doesn't move around as much. So when I think about it, I do that. So it's not a problem. One thing you'll note, I did put a GoPro mount here on this lid. It's really a pretty cool spot. For those of you who haven't thought about it, put your GoPro here if you want to get some shots right up the side of the bike going down the road. All right, so let's take a look inside the pannier now. This is my first aid kit that I carry. And here is the locking nut. And here's the locking nut that goes on the inside. I have it off right now just because I'm taking the panniers on and off to make this video. But it screws in right here, and I ride with these in all the time. I don't want to take any chances. Although I've never had any problems with the latch mechanism wanting to come loose, I still ride with the locking a nut in there just to be safe. So looking inside the pannier, you can tell there's been a little bit of wear where I've carried packs and bags. There's also some dirt in here mostly, but some of this is where it's starting to kind of chafe the finish on the pannier itself. I have seen where some guys have put liners inside here. I may do that later on. Just put a rubber liner in. It helps with vibration and any noise, although I haven't really noticed, again, any vibration and noise. Usually when I'm traveling with these panniers, I have them packed so full that nothing can move around anyway. So over here, if you'll notice, or in the first video that I did, I talked about how I removed all of these, and these are the factory cap nuts that came with it. I just removed them all, put a little bit of blue Loctite on there, and put them back on tight, and none of them on either of the panniers has come loose. So some of you may have noticed my patch job here. I want to be clear, this has nothing to do with the panniers themselves. This had to do with my own stupidity. When I originally mounted these panniers, I drilled the holes here and here for this top bracket. And it was about 2 inches. Basically, I mounted them lower than I liked them. So what I did is later I went back and I lowered the mounting bracket on the outside of the box about 2 inches to bring the panniers up more flush with the seat here and so on. So what I had to do is I had to plug these holes, and then when I plugged them, I put some sealant, I put some plastic plugs in there, and then just to be safe, I put a strip of duct tape on the inside to keep any moisture out. And I haven't had any problems with it. These other holes down here, they ended up being covered up by the bar or the mounting frame itself on the pannier, so it wasn't a problem. Again, I put some sealant on there just to make sure. And then this hole is for the locking nut, thumb screw that goes in there so that no one can remove your panniers if you have your bike parked somewhere without being able to get into the lid. So all of that has worked well. The seal has been beautiful. Haven't had any issues again with water. I have ridden in some driving rain, a lot of wet conditions. I've been camping when it's rained all weekend. And other than when I open the box to get something in and out, no moisture has gotten in these guys at all. They've been, again, incredibly happy with them. They've held up well. They've been waterproof, been very rugged and durable. So let's take a look at the locking mechanisms. One of the things I'd heard a lot about when I first, or before I bought these panniers, was how these locks just were terrible and how they would shake apart. One thing I did is I removed the screw here that operates the locking tab. I again put Loctite on it, put it all back together. All of these screws that hold everything together, you know, again, we talked about we put the Loctite on, and I've had no problems at all. None of them have even gotten loose on me at all, let alone fall apart like everyone said. I've not had any issues with the locks themselves. They haven't been corroded or sticky. Again, just use the key and lock. Yeah, you have to lock 2 locks per pannier to make sure the lid is locked. One thing I wanted to show you while I have this pannier is, if you'll notice in here, I did add a tool tube. Let's get this guy off the bike here. But I added a tool tube under here, and that is really just tied on here with cable ties. And I keep my inner tubes in here. It's been a nice way so that it doesn't take up room. Again, a tube is something you're not going to have to access too often, hopefully. So I have my inner tubes rolled up and tucked in here. And then I also keep a little a bottle of powder, baby powder. This actually is Gold Bond powder. And what that does is when you're changing a tube, you know, putting powder on there helps to make it a little easier. So I keep the spare tubes in this and the powder, and then in my panniers I typically carry my toolkit. Okay, so here's a shot from the side showing how this is mounted. 1 cable tie back here, and I put 3 up here. It's at a slight angle, as you can see, but it works great like that. I've been riding with it for a year and haven't had any problems. It's never fallen off, never come loose. Rides perfect back there. Just installed them that easily. I think I've covered just about everything that people have asked me on the panniers. I've been very happy with them. You know, I hate to say for the money they're good panniers, because as I've mentioned in the first video, I think for any money they're good panniers. They're not as pretty and as rounded and as some of the more expensive panniers. But again, I just wanted a good solid set of hard panniers to put my gear in to travel. And these have filled that requirement with flying colors. You know, I think some of the other panniers would have been thinner and maybe a little lighter, but if and when I lay it over on its side on a trail, I don't have to worry. You know, if these panniers get dented, first of all, it's going to take a heck of a dent, a heck of a hit to bend these, but I'm not so worried about them. I haven't trashed a $1,200 set of panniers. So, you know, I won't get up on my soapbox about the value of panniers. I will, so let me address a couple of other questions that I've had. Some people have written me and asked, well, did it affect the handling of the bike? And in my experience, it has not. I don't really know they're there. I have not done detailed fuel burn analysis to see if it affected my miles per gallon. It hasn't enough that it makes a difference to me. The value that these things add are worth any loss in fuel economy I may have. And if you don't want them on the bike, if you're just going to go cruising around your local area, then pop them off. It's not a problem. Durability is another question people have asked about. Waterproofing, I've covered. Again, the handling of the bike, I don't notice a difference whatsoever. So the hard versus soft panniers argument out there. I've had a lot of people say, should I get soft panniers? Should I go with the hard panniers? You know, that is a completely personal preference. But here's my take on it if you want to know. First of all, if I was going to be spending all of my time on a trail in very rugged conditions, and I wasn't as concerned about security, I was going to be camping with the bike, living with the bike 24/7, soft panniers would be an excellent way to go. Probably the better way to go under those conditions. However, I do a lot of riding in the road in populated areas, some off-road, mostly some on-road, and my biggest concern was security of my equipment, my gear. I can get nearly everything I need for a camping trip in both of these panniers. I do have a bigger top deck that I put on here to pile other gear on, but if push comes to shove, I could get almost everything I need inside these two panniers and have a solid, waterproof, rugged, lockable container that they're in. And to me, that is the way that is the best option for me. So you really need to be honest with yourself and ask, you know, I know a lot of us think, yeah, well, we're going to do a lot of rugged off-road riding, but how much are you really? When you go into, if you go to a hotel or if you stop at a restaurant, do you want to be sitting there all the time worried, is somebody getting in your panniers, somebody stealing your stuff? You know, to me, it's not worth it. Another question, and one of the downsides to hard panniers is people saying, well, you're going to break your foot. You're going to get your foot trapped under there. In the year that I've been riding with these, I think that I've felt my foot hit the bottom of the pannier 2 times, maybe a third, okay? And yes, it will scare, there's a pucker factor there because you feel your back of your foot hit those panniers and you immediately think, oh, and you pull them out. But honestly, that was one reason for me raising them another 2 inches, getting them up as high as I could to where it would still function well with the bike, and to reduce that amount. You do need to be conscious of that because there have been a lot of people who have gotten their foot pinned back. You know, you're riding along, you dab your foot down, it goes back and it gets under the pannier. I wear good boots, good off-road riding boots to help protect my feet. I think everyone should. I've not had a problem with it so far. But again, if I was going to be constantly in really rugged riding conditions where I think the potential for that is there, then soft panniers may be the best option. Anyway, I think, I don't want to get too preachy here and I don't want to get off on tangents. I've tried to focus on the items that, the questions that people have asked, and I hope I've touched on them all. Again, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to leave a comment for this video, and I do my best to respond to all questions and comments. I don't get them all, but I do try to get them there. Again, this is Tim Two Wheels, and that's how I did it.